Cat everybody, welcome back to Rowdy's Rants, episode 5. Last night I thought I'd do something different, and on Facebook I put a list of 3 albums that people could choose from for me to review, and the one that everybody voted on was by a landslide victory, was Metallica, Master of Puppets, which is a great album. Okay, so for me, Metallica is a band that I don't I wouldn't say one of my favorite bands. Not at all. Not at all. In fact, from watching interviews with them and uh, listening to most of their albums, I really actually don't really like them that much. Sorry, but you can't deny that Master of Puppets is a fantastic album. It's epic, and so you got to give credit where credit's due. I think the reason I probably don't really like Metallica that much is it's not their fault so much, is so that I've just met a lot of buffheads, a lot of knuckle draggers and meat axes who just Metallica. Same with Slayer. It's a bit unfortunate. They tend to attract some interesting people into their crowds, and yeah, unfortunately, Metallica have a bit of a following of jarheads. But having said that, it's not their fault. But this is the only album of Metallica's that I really like. Ride the Lightning had a couple of cool tracks, like Creeping Death is cool, and Man, For Whom the Bell Tolls is cool, but apart from that, I don't really dig it. And their first album too, I don't know, good on them, whatever. But Metallica ain't really for me. But this album is definitely one of my top heavy metal albums of all time. In fact, it's been voted by many critics around the world as being one of the greatest heavy metal albums of all time. So yeah, we're gonna review this one today. I first heard the album when I was real young. I remember being at my big bro Johnny's house, and him and all his skater punk mates used to hang out, and I think one of them might even been wearing a Master of Puppets T-shirt. And yeah, I remember them playing it and just skating around to it, and I was like, "Whoa, man, this is heavy." But I didn't really kind of get my own copy till I was an intermediate. I would have been about 12, and someone let me dub it off them. Got to copy their tape, and I had a copied version of the album for years. In fact, I don't think I owned this album myself. I didn't buy this album until I was about 16. But it is definitely one that I put in the car still, and I still listen to it all the time. Regan Aspen, I know if you're listening, man, I know you dig this album. It's definitely one of your favorite driving albums. Yeah, it's cool. So just to have a sort of look at, I don't know, when it first came out, and looking at some of the history of the album. Kirk Hammett actually said that it's his favorite Metallica album. It's the one that he enjoyed the most working on. In an interview that I read with him years ago, I remember him saying that this album was when Metallica was at their best in terms of, they were really working well together as a fully functioning team. Um, he said that they really gelled. They had done 2 albums beforehand, and they were really starting to get to know each other as musicians, and they were just really locking in. They were really in that groove where they kind of knew they were vibing off each other, which is cool. And he said that even though they're all big partiers, and like to get down and wasted and stuff like that, he said they were all clean during the recording of this album. They didn't touch any of the substances, and they just kept it all about making an excellent album. Just really cool. Okay, so it is considered one of the greatest albums of all time by critics for heavy metal, and it has 6 times platinum. It's gone 6 times platinum. For people out there who might not be sure about gold and platinum, and how that rates, basically for your album to become gold, you got to sell 500,000 copies. Platinum is 1,000,000 copies. 6 times platinum, man, that's a lot of albums sold. That's wicked. So I mean, there's a reason this album is so popular. A lot of people bought it. A lot of people love it. You can't argue with it. In 2015, it was the first heavy metal album ever to be, I guess, inducted by or yeah, taken by the Library of Congress for preservation, and they put it into the National Recording Register, that department, and they included it as an archive because of its cultural significance. I mean, again, that says how popular this album is. So many people like it. They're like, it's a part of US culture. Wicked. shot Metallica. 1986 it came out, and 1986 was an interesting year for albums. There was some kind of cool breakthrough stuff coming through, and but again, when we look at the albums that were coming through, none of them have come even close to how epic Master of Puppets is. But yeah, '86, Iron Maiden had Summer in Time. It wasn't their best album by far. The artwork's amazing. The artwork for Summer in Time is my favorite artwork of all time for an album cover. But I didn't really dig that album. Slayer had Rain and Blood. I think we can all agree that that's an amazing album. Some would say it's probably better than Master of Puppets. I wouldn't. I think it's a great first album. Beastie Boys had License to Ill. Run DMC had Raising Hell. Public Enemy had Yo Bum Rush the Show. New Kids on the Block had Who Cares. But yeah, so again, if you look, and Megadeth had Peace Sells, but Who's Buying? And if you look at all those albums, yeah, there's some great albums in that time, but none of them are as big as influential as Master of Puppets. It was recorded in Copenhagen. So yeah, what's the name? Lars Ulrich comes from Denmark. Goes through nasty Danish twat. Yeah, he comes from Denmark, and I remember, I'm pretty sure on this. I remember reading years and years and years ago that the band were like, oh, we don't want to record in San Francisco, our hometown, and they didn't really want to record in American studios. Apparently, Ulrich felt that Denmark studios were superior and the acoustics were better, so they went to Denmark and they recorded it there. A guy called Flemming Rasmussen was the producer on that. I've never really heard of the guy. I've never heard of anything he's done since. But hey, he did a great job. Um, and apparently, when they're over there in Denmark, it would start to get dark at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I think the band said they didn't really wake up until sort of 5 o'clock-ish, and they would record all through the night. So yeah, like what's his name? Kirk Hammett would say that they didn't see sunlight for like almost 3 months. They recorded all night, slept during the day. That's kind of crazy. It's kind of vampiric. Yeah, yeah. It's just one of those things, I guess. Cool. All right. James Hetfield, the vocalist, guitarist, and drummer Ulrich. What's his name? Lars Ulrich. They were the main writers on this album. They sat together and went through all the structures and put most of their bones together. And they'll sit down with Kirk and Cliff and say, hey, what do you got to add? That's how most of the album was written. Which is pretty cool. Hetfield's vocals on this, like the first two albums they did, Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning, they're very thrashy albums. I mean, there are some tracks on Ride the Lightning that are a little bit more stripped back and mellow, but they are quite thrashy albums. And Hetfield's vocals on those are very kind of raw. Whereas Master of Puppets, he really started to develop as a vocalist, I reckon. That's my opinion. He really started. He's still very aggressive, very very metal, but he just had a more controlled sound from my perspective. Yeah, I really like the way he kind of flows his lyrics on this album. All right, Cliff Burton, the bass player, rest in peace. He really brought a lot to this album. He's classically trained. He knows a lot about melody, about song structure, composition. He really really brought the meat to this album. Um, Man, what a phenomenal bass player that dude was. I don't think people realized just how awesome Cliff Burton was. Like I honestly believe that if he hadn't died and was still part of Metallica, they would be probably still amazing. But they're not. I don't know. That's a matter of opinion. I know heaps of people still like Metallica. Good for yous. All right, the album art. This is It'll be definitely up there in my top 5 album art. Yeah, it's an album art. So it's was designed by the band and a guy called Peter Mensch. I don't really know who Peter Mensch is. I think he might have been one of the big wigs in the company. I don't know. But the design came from like a sketch that James Hetfield did. He was just kind of playing around with a few ideas, and they took that sketch to an artist called Don Boddingam, and this guy, he's cool, man. He's done a lot of really really cool art. He's done some art for Stephen King for some of his books. I forget which. I think it might have been The Stand. I can't remember which book it is. But yeah, he did a lot of artwork for a lot of cool albums. I know he did James Brown. He did the album artwork for the Payback. James Brown. James Brown. He did AC/DC, Razor's Edge. Not one of my favorite albums, but still a cool cover. He did 3 Anthrax covers. He did Among the Living. He did State of Euphoria and Persistence of Time. So they must have loved him. Chuck Berry. He did one for Chuck Berry. He did Motley Crue's Dr. Feelgood, which is a cool cover. So yeah, they used this guy, and they kind of sat with him and gave him an idea and said, look, the album track, Master of Puppets, which we'll get to soon, and they kind of gave him the rundown of what it was all about, and about sort of being controlled by certain substances or certain things. And they also gave him the song "Disposable Heroes" to look at, which is where the white crosses um, being kind of manipulated by these puppet hands, these puppet masters. And you can see like a soldier's helmet with dog tags on one of the graveyards. We'll get to that song later on. But I love the metaphorical artwork on this cover. That's dope. Okay, yeah, so they worked through the night on this one. One of the funny things about this album is that when you think about Metallica and you think about the influences, I mean, what do you think? Naturally, Diamond Head. I know that they said they love Diamond Head. Um, I would probably think, you know, early metal, punk. I know they love the Misfits, but they reckon that some of their biggest influences when they were writing this album and they were recording it was Kate Bush, Simon and Garfunkel. Go figure. I can't hear it in there, but they were listening to a lot of that during the recording of this, and they've cited Kate Bush as one of their big influences. Okay, yeah, whatever. So when I look at the tracks for this, we'll start getting to the tracks. The very first track, very cool way to open the album is Battery, and it starts off with that quite cool acoustic guitar overdubbed with electric, and it's kind of mellow. It kind of just grabs your attention, warms you in, and then bam, it just really slams into the V8, and they just charge on. I don't really know a lot about the song in terms of what it means. I've read that it's about domestic violence and battery. Other people have said that it's about like the industrial military complex. Okay, cool. Maybe I don't know. I don't really care what it's about. It's just a slamming song, and I really dig that for the very first song on the album. It really grabs your attention. It's a good one. It's a good one. After that we have yeah. After that we have Master of Puppets, the title track. And this is a very, very cool song. One of my favorite Master Puppet songs of all time. I think probably most people they love this song. It's Cliff Burton said it's his favorite song off the album. He loved it, and he just said he loved everything about writing it and recording it. And just when he played it back, he was like, "I can't believe we made this song." But I've got an old Thrasher magazine. You guys remember Thrasher magazine, the skate magazine? What really pisses me off is, especially as a teacher, I see all these young dudes wearing Thrasher t-shirts now, especially a lot of girls. I've got nothing against girls wearing it, but it's just I don't know. I just find it hard when people will rock something and they don't appreciate the culture to it. They don't really understand where it comes from. They're just like, oh, that looks cool, and everybody else is wearing it. But Thrasher magazine was great, man. It was, had not just for the skating, but it was probably the only mag for quite a long time where they would interview like real underground bands, like Suicidal Tendencies and White Zombie were all through those magazines. And this is pre-internet, These days you can just look up anything and find out whatever you want. Back in the day, you had to get a really cool magazine, and hopefully there'd be a cool interview with one of these bands that you liked. But yeah, I've got the Thrasher magazine probably somewhere still in my collection of magazines, and I think it was from like 1988. But they interviewed James Hetfield, and they're like, what's Master Puppets about? And he said it's really a song about things having control over you, and largely drugs, and the fact that you think you're in control of these things that you're doing, but then addiction takes over, and you start to be controlled. Your puppet masters. whether it be drugs or a woman or I don't know, whatever's controlling you. But yeah, it's cool. I like the metaphor to the song. There's some really cool parts in the lyrics where he's like, needlework the way, never you betray, pay monopoly, ritual misery, chop your breakfast on a mirror. That's pretty cool, chopping it up. Yeah, it's there's some great lyrics in there. Um, Go back and have a listen. You'll probably go if you haven't really sort of figured that one before, you'll listen to it now and go, yeah, it is about being addicted to stuff. But yeah, cool song. And I love the breakdown in the middle of the song, it's really cool. I remember me and my friend Paulie Spicer doing that for karaoke. Our staff do, a bunch of teachers went out and did karaoke and we did that one and everybody hated it. We had a great time doing it, but everyone else hated it. Yeah, it's during the recording of that, Kirk Hammett was like, getting into that solo and he wow! Jake Booth, you'll love this. He bent the string up real high to get that, real high sound and poof, pop the string. And it happens. But when they listen back, they're like, that's cool. They sounded cool. So they kept it in. Jake, I know you like that kind of thing. So yeah, that's for you, bro. All right, after that is The Thing That Should Not Be. I never really liked this track. Sorry. Um, just never really grabbed me. People say it's the heaviest track on the album. It is quite heavy. It's quite doomy. It's quite Sabbathy. But I just didn't really dig it. It just kind of bored me. Um, it's about the band must really love H.P. Lovecraft because on Ride the Lightning they got that song Call of Cthulhu. Cthulhu is that's Lovecraft. It's his thing. He created that. But apparently the thing that should but not be is about a story that Lovecraft wrote called The Shadow over Innsmouth. I've never read it. That's probably the only one of Lovecraft's I've never read. But yeah, they must have really loved the song. That's where it came from. That not dare, which eternal lie, with stranger eons, even death may die. Sounds like Lovecraft. But other bands must love this song because Primus do a cover of it. Bias do a cover of it. So yeah, I'm wrong. They're right. Whatever. After this song comes Sanitarium. Very, very cool song. I remember really digging this when I was a kid. I mean, I'm a sucker for melody. I'm a sucker for, really good structures to a song. And this one has kind of a softer touch to it. It's still got those minor notes, so it's still dark. But yeah, it's I wouldn't say it's a ballad, because it's definitely got some crunch to it. But it's yeah, it's a softer song. And apparently, it was inspired by the film One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest with Jack Nicholson, and yeah, they really dug that movie, and they kind of really were like, man, imagine being in a sanitarium, and you're like, you're allowed to leave if you want, but not really. So yeah, that's where that song came from. I love the end of that. It just kind of drives out and finishes the first side of the album off really really well, and then side two. My favorite song on the entire track. On the entire album, Disposable Heroes. This is, as far as I'm concerned, this is Metallica's best song ever. This is the greatest song that they ever wrote. It's so heavy and so slamming. It's anti-war song. Kirk Hammett reckons when he wrote it, he was really kind of paying attention to the kind of music that they use in war movies, and he wanted to emulate a lot of those kind of like real driving kind of kill, kill, kill kind of emotions. Um, it's oh man, the lyrics to the song are just say what you will about James Hetfield, like I don't really dig most of the lyrics he's written after And Justice for All, but man, this song. So the chorus, Soldier boy made of clay, now an empty shell, 21, only son, but he served us well. Bred to kill, not to care, do just as we say. Greetings here, was it? Oh, finished here, greetings death, he's yours to take away. Back to the front, it's so good. Um, you will do what I say when I say back to the front. Get back to that front line and die for us, like that's the military, man. That's the army. I don't care if you're pro-military, whatever. You can argue this with me all day. They don't care about you. They don't care about you at all. You're just cannon fodder to them. You're just fighting their war, And this really reflects that the song. Just looking at the madness of sending these young men to the front line to die for what? You know, for someone else's ideology. That's ridiculous. Anyway, but my favorite lyrics from the album from the song is when it says, "Barking of machine gun fire does nothing to me now. Like the sound of the clock that ticks. Get used to it somehow." And it's like, yeah, man, being so desensitized to what's going on around you and so used to chaos and mayhem and killing that you're just fine with it now. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, I'm pretty anti-war, as you might tell. And this song really resonates with me. And when you hear people say things like, people who sing about heavy metal songs they're Satanists, they're the devil, they want hate and murder and killing. No, Metallica don't. The song proves that. Yeah, it's a great song. Um, oh, yeah, and at the end of the song, why am I dying? Kill, have no fear. You know, I was born for dying. Man, I love it. Absolutely love it. Yep. Go back and listen to that song, crank it as loud as you can, and just go, man, Rowdy's right. This song was amazing. I'm right. I'm right on this. All right. After this is Leper Messiah, which is probably my second favorite song. Oh, hang on. Third favorite song on the album. This is a cool song. Really, really cool song. And the lyrics again are great. It's really having a to what's it called, televangelism. That you get those preachers who get on TV and like, God loves you and He wants to save you, but you just got to send me some money first. And I'm sure we've probably seen some of that in New Zealand, Disney Church. Um, it's crazy. It's madness. These people who bold-faced liars taking your money. And I love the what's it called? The lyrics in this where he says, "Send me money, send me green, heaven you will meet. Make a contribution and you'll get a better seed." Yeah, bow to leper Messiah. That's great. Apparently, the song for this was inspired by, or especially the title, was inspired by David Bowie's Ziggy Stardust. And in that song, he says something about a leper Messiah, and the band were like, "Wow, that's cool. That's cool. Cool title." So they used that. Way to go, Bowie, influencing everybody. And at the end of the song, it's like, lie, 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 lie. It's great. Yeah, it's great. I love it. My favorite part of that song, it's kind of the breakdown before it starts to exit out. It's like, yeah, that's an amazing piece of guitar work. I think that'll be Hetfield, I'm pretty sure. Could be wrong. We'll find out. Booth, find out. All right. Then after that is Orion. Wow. Yeah. I'd say that is my second favorite song of Metallica's, and definitely second favorite song on the album. But Orion is probably one of the best, most beautiful compositions any band has ever put together. I mean, like when you think about the old school musicians, and I'm talking like Mozart, Bach, those guys who would put together like a symphony and spend years doing it. I feel like Orion is. I'm not gonna say it's up there with those guys, but it is a symphony. It's got so many layers to it and so many riffs and so much magic to that song. And it's fantastic. My favorite part of the song is when it's kind of how it's got two halves, and when the first half kind of finishes and it kind of all drops down, and then that nice mellow bass work comes in. And then like the really nice kind of melodic guitar solos are coming in over the top of it. Me and Johnny DeBoer, man, we would listen to that song on every road trip, and that part that came up, that middle part, we would just crank that really, 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 really loud, and we just both kind of sway to it, as we were driving. May not be the safest thing to do when you're driving, but yeah, Johnny, man, how cool is that part, eh? That part is epic. I'm gonna play that at your funeral one day, Johnny. Don't die soon, because I still want to hang with you. But when you're 80, I'm gonna play that part at your funeral, bro. Um, Cliff, Cliff, man, what a loss. When he died, James Hetfield, he went and got the bass notes from that part of the song tattooed on his arm, in tribute of Cliff. That's cool. I love that. So that's Orion. Oh, the other cool thing about that song is I love skating. Danny Way does this amazing scene in the DC video. Who's seen that? Epic. If you haven't watched it, go on YouTube and type up Danny Way DC video, and that scene will come up. And he uses Orion. He uses that song for that segment. It's epic. It's so cool. And yeah, you wouldn't think it would suit, but it really suits the scene. Nice. Good work, Danny Way. Okay, the last song on the album is called Damage Incorporated, and a lot of people out there are gonna probably go, "What?" But I'll kind of finish listening to the album by the time that song comes on. Everyone's like, I know so many people are like, "That's such a great song." Paulie Spice is like, "Man, that song's like probably the best on the album." Damage Incorporated. It is a fast, heavy, wicked song. It's a, it's anti-violence. That song is all about anti-violence. So I love the meaning, and the whole sort of vibe behind the song. But I don't know, maybe because Orion has just totally, you know, robbed me out, given me that happy ending. Um, I've just got nothing left. Maybe I need to go and listen to Damage Incorporated by itself in the car and just crank it. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, that's the album. Amazing album. Like I said, I haven't really ever liked anything that Metallica have done ever since. And Justice for All might have been good if there was more bass in that. Don't even get me started on that. Um, but yeah, I mean the Black Album. I know people rate the Black Album. I don't like it. It's boring. Yeah, and I haven't really liked anything that Metallica have done recently. I don't know. It's just my opinion. I know. I got to be wrong on that because lots of people love it. Anyway, that's Master of Puppets. Wicked, classic, amazing heavy metal album. Ike the Boy, I know you love that album. Crank it, brother. Crank it up real loud. Hope you enjoyed this review. Um, I think that's about it. Except maybe just to say that was the last album that Cliff Burton was on. They were touring that album, and their bus crashed and Cliff got crushed. And what a loss to the music world. I know from reading many articles and many interviews with different musicians. Cliff Burton was a very well respected uh, musician and person. People said he was really, really intelligent, and he loved everything from Lynyrd Skynyrd to King Diamond, and he was just an amazing guy, just an amazing musician. Cliff, rest in peace, brother. Thank you for the music. Everybody else, maybe I'll do another like vote for what album you want to see tonight, and we'll see what we get. I know lots of people wanted me to do Cypress Hill, Black Sunday. That'd be cool. Um, Lots of people have been asking me to do Tool Anima. Man, I want to, but that's kind of like when like the hottest girl at school asks you to the ball, and you really want to go, but you're kind of shitting your pants as well. Um, that's a lot of pressure, man. Tool Anima, that's got to be probably, if not the best album of all time. It's definitely up there. I'll have a think about it. I'll see if I can pull my sack up and man up. Yeah. Till then, till tomorrow. Stay safe, everybody. Listen to music. Love music. Go crank your favorite album right now. And if you haven't listened to Master Puppets for a while, go crank that. One love, y'all.